officially tuned into season 4 of La Serranita. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Melina Cruz Bautista, and I am one of the hosts for this amazing online project that has grown alongside all of you. I am joined by my younger sister, Anahi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anahi Cruz Bautista. We're so excited to be back. There are a couple of life updates, but most importantly, we are in a new studio. And we're so excited to be starting off season 4. Again, inviting a bunch of community members to have conversations with us. We are continuing Las Voces del Pueblo, and we are going to be having some fun segments for this new season. I think there has been some time in between season 3 and season 4 where Meli and I have just reimagined what La Serranita looks like, what it continues to mean for us. And we're so excited to be welcoming new listeners, viewers. We're glad to have the opportunity to be back on YouTube and also continuing our audio episodes. But yeah, we're excited to finally kick it off. Meli, how are you feeling?
Excited to be here. I know we've been away from the mic, but we haven't stopped working, but also being creative and
still being in front of the camera.
Different projects have opened up. So many different doors have opened up for us as this project has grown. La Serranita did start in November of 2020, and it is 2026.
That's insane. I think all of our close friends who know of the start of La Serranita, who were in our lives in 2020 when it was starting, when it was just not even a project. It was just something Meli and I wanted to do because COVID was happening. We were bored. We missed our community. We've said this so many times, like La Serranita became an online space when we didn't have access to our community in person. And now we are back in person, mingling with our community members and, always sharing space. But more than ever, these online conversations seem to be especially important. And we have had the pleasure of connecting with people outside of LA, back home in Oaxaca, in the East Coast, different parts of the U.S. and outside of it. Through La Serranita, we've had the opportunity to, in the past 5-6 years of La Serranita existing now, we're heading to 6 in November, we've randomly bumped into community members who know about the podcast, who know of Meli and I, and honestly, that's one of my favorite things ever, just like meeting y'all and connecting with folks and like having these conversations outside of the camera and offline, but also continuing them here online. So I feel like season 4 has a lot of exciting things coming. We're going to kick this off. For today, it's just Meli and I. After this, it'll just be guest after guest. That's the whole point, just having conversations with different community members. But for right now, we've been able to use DHTV studios and, have the opportunity to film here. Meli, do you want to talk a little bit more about where you're at right now? Just as an update, academia, Meli has been really centering her focus on that. I think from 2024 to now, like we said, a lot of changes. There's always something we're working on. And Meli has put on her academic hat in the more recent years and really delved into documenting Oaxaca, California, the stories of Oaxaca and the stories of LA, and the stories of both Oaxaca and LA merged together and how histories overlap, and really making an effort to document that. I know we have some incredible friends who have also made such an effort in research and documenting these stories. Friends like Brenda and Luis. We have such amazing researchers out there representing Oaxaca. And so I'm excited to know that Meli's also kind of following those footsteps. Y'all already know that I did my academic time, my sentencing at Berkeley for a couple years. During the podcast, actually, I was in the middle of my Berkeley education when La Serranita started, and still taking a step away from academia, but focusing on, again, still my career and what I've been working on in music, and also just with creatively continuing to put Baja California on the map and always representing us online in digital spaces. So yeah, I just kind of want to talk about that. Started off with your updates and then see how that's going to be shaping season 4, because your research focus is going to be a big focus of season 4 for us. Yeah,
definitely highlighting online spaces and conversations that throughout the years, Oaxacans throughout the diaspora have created through Oaxacan Twitter, RIP Twitter, but also our Instagram spaces, the organizations that have started through online spaces and then have actually turned into physical mutual aid spaces, events, and then just connections. I really do get a lot of inspiration by and from my community because I get to highlight the magic that is Baja California. I know there's a lot of different conversations that come up with belonging in a community that is very far away from home. But through online spaces like YouTube, I have also connected back to the Pueblos event. And when I'm not physically there, I get to stream an online video and it feels like I'm still present. Even though, yes, there are a lot of things that sadly, due to borders, like a lot of people can't really be part of, but that connects us back to like even that special bond we want to continue building. And so we add a comment or we friend request someone and we're like, hey, like you're from the Sierra, but my pueblo's on this side. So we're like an hour away from each other. We should one day, meet up. And so a lot of my friendships have really grown from a lot of my young conversations when I was first in undergrad. Now, going back to like what I'm currently focusing on, I am diving into research for the first time ever. I know that my college experience started at SZN. I didn't see myself in academia for long. And so for a while, I took a pause, worked in education, and actually, funny enough, was working in education when the project started. So La Serranita was very much inspired by my students, but also the conversations we wanted to have with our friends and family members. Due to the pandemic, we couldn't have them in person. So Annie and I were just like, you know what, we have time. Let's prop our phone and just record.
Funny thing about you being an educator at that time, we had access to a podcast editing platform because you had a free subscription through school because your students were working on like a mini like podcast assignment.
So my students were using a platform during the pandemic and we were teaching online. So the platform had a option to make beats, and that's what my students were learning.
Got it.
So I would log into the program, and then on the right side, it had like a podcast segment. And my students were third graders, and they were just not going to get the idea of a podcast right away, which I would love to hear like more younger folks come into the podcast, bring them over, sign them up, please. So
we're open to having guests of any age. I'm like,
yes,
bring the youth into the conversations. Definitely agree.
Please.
But that's how it started. I know when we were thinking about it, I was off. I also, we'll touch back on this, but I'm also releasing a magazine that kind of documents the start of La Serranita more formally, because I know we've set this story throughout the seasons. And you all, if you've tuned into La Serranita since season 1, we've documented this story with you all, the history of it being a CD shop in the early 2000s in Pico Union. Now us bringing it back as a online space, a podcast, and we do aim to expand it in the long run. But yeah, I'm releasing a magazine that kind of touches on that. And as we were talking about just the start of it, Melina and I didn't know how to record a podcast. We didn't own any mics and we weren't even thinking about documenting it through video, just purely audio. Melly always wanted the video segment because she loves video podcasts. I love audio podcasts. So that's where like we were able to like, okay, in the long run, we want both because I know people have different needs and different preferences. But when we were just focusing on the audio aspect of the podcast, I was taking full advantage of online learning and it being such a joke. For the amount of tuition I was paying is insane, or the government was paying. But I was taking that free time to Google how to start a podcast, how to edit, and like learning that myself. And Melly was like, through school, we're using this platform. I think that's what people use to edit podcasts. And I looked it up, and that's what we started editing with. And so that's how that kind of came about. Your education journey at that time, like being an educator, really played into even the start of it. Because if not, we would have just stuck to IGTV, a simple phone, no mics.
Which no longer exists anymore. So if you don't post a reel, people will not see your content. And that's very interesting to see how the growth of social media has also played into like how we share our projects.
Yeah.
Now we're still on social media, but Ani is also launching her magazine soon, but also working on other projects that are going to be announced soon. And you guys will all get access to it once we announce it. With that, I do know that once Ani came back after graduating from college, it really inspired me. So I was like, hey, I think we're going to play tag. You're back home. I'm going to be registering for classes. I want to go back to school.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to go back to school for like art education or counseling. Ended up really diving into like creative spaces. ELAC welcomed me with open arms. I met so many cool mentors, longtime friends now. And with that, like I pitched La Serranita, and my professor was like, you know what? Bring your project over. We're going to record it. You'll get the support you need. And it worked out so nicely to the point where even applying to transfer out of ELAC, there was a point where I was like, do I have to?
Melly did not want to leave. And I love that it was such a beautiful experience for her because she's had a rough journey with that academia, just like even needing that pause, that space to come back with a more clear mind. And yeah, like she was very honest about needing that time away to figure out what it is that she truly wanted to do with whatever degree it was that she pursued. And yeah, I immediately saw that when I moved back to LA, like that drive you had again, which I saw was missing your first time around in college at SZN. Like you didn't have that like personal motivation behind it. While you did have that creative desire for it though, because we touch on photography and journalism being like your beginning steps as SZN started there. Well, actually started in high school, middle school. You've been having a camera since for as long as I can remember. But then ELAC, I think you were going back in that maybe photography, videography direction. And I was like, that makes so much sense for you. You already have that experience though. And you constantly went back to asking a bunch of questions. And for those that don't know, Melly in the family, we know her as a preguntona. She is the nosy child since as long as we can remember, who just goes and asks all the questions. Without a care in the world, just goes and asks and asks. And when we talked about research, I was like, honestly, that makes so much sense for you. I did sociology for undergrad, and so I had a big research component for my education in college, but my heart was never in it. Like I love social media and marketing stuff. And that's where my heart, ultimately led me to after graduation. And so I told Melly, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I personally am not like too fond of like research. I admire everyone who does research though, because it is such a commitment and you really have to have heart in it to, at least I'd hope, to do the research that you're committing to. And so Melly was like asking all these questions, especially her last year at ELAC. And when it came down to transferring and applying, I remember the biggest thing was like full creative direction or research direction. And luckily when you got to Dominguez, you have a pretty cool mentor and professor who taught you like, or
why not both?
Encouraged you, to be like, why not both? Like who's telling you need to choose one over the other? And so she was very kind enough to say, hey, you have this podcast that's actually about the research you want to conduct. La Serranita has always been about documenting the stories of Baja California, us as young girls navigating what now we know as Baja California. Back then it was just two Oaxacan girls in LA, and then being like, wait, there's so many Oaxacan kids growing up in this city and all across California that kind of share similar experiences or experiences overlapping first gen, being just, navigating a new city that our parents have never grown up in. And regardless of like whether we were in LA or whether people were in LA or other parts of California, it's like that's how we connected online. And I feel like when La Serranita was starting, Oaxacan Twitter was very present, but also we were, prior to the pandemic, things were just about to get really good in terms of, the Oaxaqueños are getting together in rooms, like officially physical rooms. We had really cool initiatives starting. And I think the pandemic did change the trajectory of that for one reason or another. But now it's like a new landscape too, but that those seeds were planted through Oaxacan Twitter. And we talked about this season 3, like
very true.
A lot of these online conversations or these connections wouldn't have happened if we didn't have social media and our phones and the access we have to connect online like we do now. We talk about this with our mom a lot. Like, she's very grateful for the people we've been able to connect with, and she's been able to meet through just our connections. And she sees that power of social media usage as a big factor in that. And so that kind of draws back to, I know your research, I know a lot of my friends too, who are now entering these higher ed spaces, go with that question in mind, like, how do we document, Oaxacan's existence as of right now in my generation, because it looks so different than the Oaxacan existence of our parents and their migration over. And so it's really cool to see this new generation kind of hit the books, hit the internet and be like, okay, I'm typing this out, I'm documenting it, I'm doing the research, and I'm presenting my findings to other people who currently at this moment find Oaxaca so fascinating too.
Yes. And I think with that, I am going to continue learning how to really navigate the research world. It's completely new to me. I am just a semester in, and I already have found a lot of encouragement around that inspires me to continue seeing, like, or even asking the questions that I might have and have had throughout my
entire upbringing.
Yeah. I was like, that's interesting. Like, tell me more. And so through La Serranita, being a project that, again, just two girls wanted to record and just have fun with, has now grown into different conversations, but also resources for others. And it's so nice to find a lot of you in community events or art spaces. And then, we approach each other and then they'll be like, oh, I know you from La Serranita. And I am always like I always fangirl, and even though it's our project, I fangirl just meeting all of you because, one, y'all are listening, but also a lot of you are already in these higher spaces, and higher ed, navigating higher ed outside of your community can be a lot, and at times questioning like who you are or where you belong is tough. So a lot of the times what most of you have shared is like, I play your podcast because it reminds me of home, or it's like talking to friends and it makes me miss home less. So it's such an honor. Right now I am still like navigating my research topics and seeing how it grows from here, because what I pitched my first semester here at Dominguez might change throughout the years, and I'm okay with that. I'm also very intrigued to see how it grows, and I might meet a lot of you in the process. So please comment or just connect with me in any way, like where we can hopefully hop on a call, meet up for coffee. But that's a lot what the research, I guess, committee has like reminded me. Like, you are going to start having a lot of these conversations and findings on your own time, but don't be discouraged. And if you have questions, like, come to us. So I have been welcomed with open arms at Dominguez. My major is currently women's studies. So with that, I get to also focus on empowering our community, but also like sharpening the tools here that I might have forgotten about or just like stopped entertaining because I was so focused on other life priorities. And now with that, like being received here at DHTV to film, but also getting the chance to like a lot of the conversations Ani and I have had throughout the season, like we get to finally share with all of you. And I feel like it's long overdue. We're really excited. And now there's just so many other life updates that we're also opening up and like sharing with all of you. So if there's at any point questions or also just like specific things that stand out, please let us know. I think that just grows the conversation.
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that you talked about like even the interaction with people who, you know, are our listeners, because I think that's the beautiful part of meeting folks in person who may have connected with us already online or tuned into a conversation online. They always share something personal that resonates with them about our conversations. And that's really how we started it. We've always had, luckily, really interesting conversations at the dinner table with our mom. And that's taken a lot of work, a lot of like generational unlearnings as well, because sometimes I've said this, like conversations get uncomfortable and things have to get unlearned. And we've sat down and done the hard parts, you know? And I think through that, seeing other people get inspired to do that with their family too, at the dinner table, outside of it. That's honestly, at the end of the day, what I wanted out of it. Like, just start the conversations, talk to your parents, talk to your, you know, other people in your family, like different generations, get the perspective. Melly's always been about documenting the history of it through photography. I've done it more through writing. And I think that's the perfect balance you and I have through this project. But seeing how people have really taken these online conversations and been inspired to change even the landscape of their family and what that looks like right now, what they carry, all of that. But yeah, like knowing that your research is I'm excited to see what direction it goes in just naturally, you know, because I think, you know, you've shared with me the inspiration, or what you pitched this semester was very social media heavy, focused on how do Oaxaqueños find community, or what current online communities exist online through social media that serve as safe spaces for Oaxaqueños, wherever it is that they may be, right? And we credit a lot of Oaxacan Twitter with the inspiration of just always having these online spaces for just Oaxacan kids of immigrants, but also their parents, anyone who is looking for an online space to feel seen, heard, supported, whatever it may be. And yeah, like 2020, we had Oaxacan Twitter, RIP Twitter, like you said, but we had, and I think through La Serranita, we've documented like Zuli and all our friends, Monica, like who have really publicly like made space for, you know, the Oaxacan experience, visually, Zuli through photography, you through photography. So many, I know Sandy, like so many great Oaxacan photographers have.
Oaxacan women,
yes, yes, that part, have really found other people through social media that just naturally gravitate to their work. And it's because there's this power in being seen and feeling represented and accurately represented, you know, to a truthful experience. And I feel like now with everything that's been changing online, like we don't have Twitter anymore. Instagram is kind of, at least for me, I'm only speaking on myself because I deleted my TikTok as of recently too. I know there was a good amount of like Oaxacans on TikTok where like some videos would go viral and stuff. Yes. And I would love that, to see everyone show off like just being Oaxacan and existing, right? A big part of La Serranita starting was when TikTok started, there was some anti-Indigenous rhetoric being spread on there and by white Latina. And we sat down, grabbed the mic, and we're like, hold on.
It's 2020. Are we still having this conversation?
Are we still safe enough to spread anti-Indigenous like conversations online? No. And so we checked that real quick, but then after that, we just had, you know, that's kind of how it naturally started. And to this day, like Oaxacans are quick to defend themselves online. And I love that because even we have conversations with our mom about this, how back then you had more of a fear, especially being undocumented, like wanting to just be a bit more quiet and like not seen. And my mom's like, thank God you girls have the privilege of being documented, being born here if someone says something, tries you, you stand up for yourself. And a lot of Oaxacans have now been using social media as a powerful tool to reclaim spaces that we have a right to, right?
Very true.
And so I'm excited to just see where your research goes. But yeah, with this season, the conversations we're going to be having are, well, let's talk about how even we were starting the guest list for this season, because Melly and I sat down, we, as sometimes unorganized as we may seem on the podcast, because we are two girlies who just get busy and have ADHD and sometimes lose track of our to-dos. This time we also just sat down and had a full okay, season 4 is happening. We're sitting down and we're envisioning what it looks like again. New visuals coming to the podcast.
Our ideas were all over the place, but because we were just so excited to get back on the mic.
And they all connect, one way or another, they all connect. And they all go down to the core root of Oaxaca. At the core, that is who we are. That is what will always represent Oaxaca, But we're setting up the guest list and we're okay, we know we want to really, Las Voces del Pueblo, for those who are new here, is a effort that Melly and I started last season to really foster intergenerational conversations. It's really just a segment for us to invite other people and have conversations with them, ask them the things that we've always just wanted to ask, that we do ask when we have conversations off camera. And we're okay, who do we want to have on as a guest? And a lot of these names that naturally just came up were people we connected with. Yeah, I was so young when Oaxacan Twitter was starting and happening and having its moment. 10 years later, we don't have Twitter anymore, whatever. But these names are not just names that, oh yeah, I know this Twitter user. This is my homegirl. I want to have her on for a conversation. We've had these conversations already time and time again outside of the camera.
Yes.
Now it's just time to document it and put it in an episode, But that was a cool part about starting the guest list, realizing, dang, we know a lot of cool people, and
very true.
Most of them are going to be Oaxacan. Some of them aren't. And it's really, Las Voces del Pueblo is just really to talk to just anyone we've met through the different communities that we've navigated. Melina are very honest about being community members in our Oaxacan community. We also have our Pico Union community. And to me, a lot of that is just volunteer work that Melly and I have been doing since we were in elementary. It is at our core because our mom really raised us with those values of mutual aid, helping one another. We've been very honest. We're Pico Union girls who have gotten to where we're at today thanks to the resources that have been offered to us. I credit that a lot to even helping me get to Berkeley, and even Melly through her own journey, her own mutual aid efforts, the stuff that we've done. Pico Union is at a big core of what that means to us, and our community there.
Also learning how to navigate the city. I had to commute for middle school and high school. And so I feel the reason I felt so comfortable commuting and leaving really early and then coming back really late was because my neighbors also already knew, oh, that's Carmen's daughter.
Yeah.
Make sure she gets home safe. And even the strangers I would meet on the bus, because we had our daily commute, we would already know each other. So it's I probably don't know you by name, but I know I'm safe. I know we got each other, and LA has changed so much. I think that's also something I would like to address, where our city is hurting. Our city is going through it. Being from Pico Union, I think we get to experience how everyone passes by our neighborhood because we're at the heart of it. Pico Union is really at the heart of LA. And if you want to get to K-Town, if you want to get to downtown, you have to pass by Pico Union. And the development of the city, everything that's going on, we're luckily part of a generation that has had these conversations for years now. And maybe because at a point we were too young, they didn't take us too serious, or they're oh, they're exaggerating. But now years later, we're the impact.
Yeah, I'm
real.
not a little girl anymore.
Yeah.
I've been researching. I have findings. I have credible sources that back me
Yes.
up. Even me, like my capstone for Berkeley to graduate was I did research on the gentrification in Pico Union. I think I was graduating, 2022, what that looked like before the pandemic and how that changed severely after the pandemic, because a lot of these big real estate people took advantage of the pandemic, kicking people out, and it also being a bit more quiet to buy a lot of these properties and switch up corners of Pico Union without people realizing it until it was a little too late. And I did that research, and I was telling Melly, like, this was stuff when I was doing my research, I was 21, 22. These were points that I was trying to make at 15.
Yes.
In high school, I had to do a service learning project at the end of every year. And I think my freshman year, so I was 14, 15. My freshman year, I did a project on gentrification and how you can make a change if you just give the funding to the people who live in the neighborhood rather than the people outside of it coming into the neighborhood, It just, to me, naturally made sense at a young age. And the whole project was, why don't we make a community garden? There was this empty lot in Pico Union that isn't empty anymore. But honestly, it seems still empty. Like
as of this year, so years later.
Years later, it still seems like an empty spot that could be reimagined. But at that time, being young, not knowing how the world works, and people telling you, I'm like, we could make this into a garden and people could just grow their stuff. And I stand on that till this day. Like, I think more of that should be implemented. And again, the main thing people need is just money. Like, no questions asked, just give me the funding and I'll handle this. And a big thing, if you talk to people in Pico Union outside, like if you talk to people in K-Town who are just going through the things that LA is currently suffering through, they'll tell you, you just need to trust the community members who live here to know how to handle things. I feel like that's the simplest answer, the simplest way to go about it. And I was saying that at 14, 15. 10 plus years later, it's the same thing, But yeah, now we have actual research to back it up, findings. I was getting all that for my capstone, and I'm like, damn, this is my SLP, my service learning project, just elevated and with like Berkeley research in it.
Just that final stamp.
Exactly. And I'm like, boy, I've been doing this, And I even told my professor that year, because he was overseeing my research, and I was telling him, I'm like, I kind of did this. I just didn't know it was research. And I credit a lot of my high school for helping me just see the world differently too, and like realize my own potential, because they quickly gave me the tools, and they're like, do your research, advocate for your community. And I feel like I really appreciated that, and it made a big difference. But it's also just tragic to know the same points are being made 10 plus years later, and
just maybe they'll take it serious this time around. Yeah, even
then. And I'm like, and we're still, because I'm still in my young 20s, okay? But we're still barely getting taken seriously, like being real, because sometimes people don't take you seriously because of your age, because you're a woman, because all of these factors get taken into consideration. But also now we're individually and collectively building what we want to build for each other to, in the long run. I'm like, you don't need to take me seriously. I got it. I'll handle it,
Very true. And funny enough, Annie was part of the Social Justice Academy in high school, and I was in the Multimedia Academy. So get a mix of both into this final project.
That's hilarious, because that's a perfect and it's funny, though. Okay, so this was high school. Melly and I are 2 years apart, so we, in high school, overlapped. I was going to MC while you were going to Belmont, and mind you, if you're from LA, those schools are like a block away, basically.
We're neighbors.
And yeah, Melly went to the Multimedia Academy, and I went to Social Justice. It's funny because I feel like that was very me at my core in high school, and multimedia was very you at your core in high school. As the years have gone on and we've developed as people, I feel like I have a touch of multimedia now, and you've always had a touch of social justice, but like a perfect merge of both things have like happened throughout our lifetime. And yeah, now it's like the perfect balance, which is really cool.
Yeah. And even then, I think connecting it back to Las Voces del Pueblo with us growing up and like just growing into the topics that we'd want to focus on or we're very much interested at a young age, but now we're finding like more leverage and more connections to those conversations. Now Las Voces del Pueblo gets to invite elders over who might get shy or at times may feel a little too uncertain of how to use technology or how to actually record a full episode and then to upload it, right? Now this allows us to bring in different generations and be like, hey, you just have to sit here, talk to us like nothing is in front of you. We're fine. It's just a chit chat with either direct community members or family members or friends. And that's just the beauty of getting to really execute our guest list. I think as we saw it, we both had different papers and we were kind of going to check in after a certain time. And we realized a lot of it just...
They were the same names?
Yes, a lot of it just added up to being like, okay, we already know who we want to bring in. We should just, send that email over. There are a handful that, are not Oaxacan, but have very much honored and represented LA with so much beauty.
Yeah, they are being invited because they also are such a big component to the LA history that we know, the Pico Union history that we know, the creative LA that we know and that we've had the opportunity to grow along with. So yeah, these are people that we admire, people that we respect, people that we just want to bring on in front of the mic. And, I think just at the end of the day, just formally document the conversation because and I know this happens to a lot of y'all because we always have these conversations off camera and with our friends, like really, we know really cool people and we have just the most amazing conversations. And at the end of it, someone at the table is going to be like, always says, we should have been recording that because we made such good points. And now we're officially sitting down and recording it because we need to document these points, the history that sometimes goes unnoticed because we don't document it. I think we talk a lot about that being a big part of our family history. You gifting us the ability to document our family history, our family's presence in LA through photography, and now extending that through the podcast and through documenting not only like a memory of that day, but a full conversation of the current state we're living in, the current era LA is in, and what the conversations sound like at this very moment. So we're excited to be bringing in new guests. We just wanted to start off this episode, this season, welcoming you all back, saying we missed you. We missed sitting down here, just being in front of the mic and connecting, but Melly and I, we do this on a regular. Our meetings turn into like 3-hour long conversations of breaking down generational trauma or what LA is going through and what the city's lack of accountability and also the moments where they've had the opportunity to step up and make things better or repair the damage that they have caused, specifically within Oaxacan communities, and time again not seeing that be done. We navigate the frustration behind that, the anger behind that, but also transforming that into, well, now we're going to sit down and have these conversations ourselves.
Yeah. The girls are talking and we're back.
And we're back. So we're excited to, introduce you all our guests, continue updating you all with Melly's research. Like I said, during the time that we were off camera, I developed a magazine called En La Cuadra. Volume 1 is going to be released very, very soon, probably around the same time season 4 gets released. And new things are happening. I am excited to say that also in the meantime, creatively, it's funny. I feel like we always switch. And we've said this. I think at the time that I was going on the academic pursuit, Melly was full on creative head. And I don't think she ever leaves that headspace, and same, but creatively meshing that with the passion she has for helping the youth. And that was her time while I was up at Berkeley. And then when I came back, we switched and I was like, okay, now I have to figure out what I want to do in terms of a job. And Melly can figure out what she's doing in terms of school and finishing like what it is that she has set out for herself. And so now seeing that, like a couple years have passed since I moved back to LA. Creatively, I am now feeling a bit more confident with where I'm at in terms of my career. I've been doing marketing and social media, and I'm working with a really cool music studio. Shout out Earth Star Creation Center in Venice. If any of my musicians ever want to go to a cool studio in Venice, we're there. I also have continued to work with Pandian, and I feel like it's very cool stuff that I'm supporting with orgs in the music industry, but also outside of that, I've made a name for myself. Like I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday, about even the guilt you kind of feel when you don't go on a natural 9 to 5 after college, because that's what our older sister's the only example we have of what life looks like after getting a degree and then living a normal life and all that. And so that's what I wanted to aspire to, a 9 to 5. And then after, as I've navigated my career, I was like, oh, I don't think I want a 9 to 5. I think obviously with La Serranita, and like we have a lot of creative projects that we just work on too. I wanted something a bit more freeing and a little bit of more freedom in like my own day to day. And so now I'm on a contract basis. And with that, I've been able to work with different little projects going on. And then also in my free time, I'm working on La Serranita stuff. And so I've been developing our website. That is also going to be launched probably at the same time that season 4 gets released, because it's 90% done now. Yes. It's really cool, and I've like had so much fun with the website as well. So I hope even when you all see it and it's accessible to you, you have fun with the website, and it's gonna be another central place where people could just learn about us and like learn who the Bautista sisters are, because I'd like to think we're pretty cool girls with a pretty cool history behind us. So yeah, that's going to be happening. And those are my updates on my end, because I'm like, Melly's been putting her research hat on, really like focusing on her academic grind, also really doing important work with the community here in LA. I know you've been doing work with orgs that also spearhead a really big message when it comes to what our immigrant communities have been going through since last summer, even prior to that, but the very intense moments we've been living in since summer of 2025. And so that's also something that's been, I think, sometimes a little bit emotionally taxing on you, because it's a lot of responsibility that comes with supporting the communities that are going through.
And being empathetic. I think that's something you'll learn about me if you haven't already, but I am a very empathetic person. So at times when I see even my friends or like family hurting, I'm like, you know what, let me hug you and let me carry this for you. And at times I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm caring for like 4 other people. And like, what am I going to do for myself? So learning that as I've gotten older and knowing like selfish is never a bad thing to feel. At times, like you have to find your balance and see like, how can I show up for others and still like take care of myself in the process. Working in the nonprofit world is very emotionally demanding, but also luckily, because I've done a lot of organizing since we were in elementary, and I am a middle child, so there's times where I kind of had to like raise myself as I figured it out. I'm like, you know what? I think I've really gotten to the point I'm at in my work life, but also my educational journey and just life in general, because I've had great mentors along the way. And now I have a really cool team with me. And when I do feel a little overwhelmed, I get to like just go into the steam room or the sauna, and like that's my safe space. That's my favorite space where I'm like, no one talk to me right now. I just need some.
Melly needs a minute.
Yes, yeah. I just need some time. And Anahi has really helped me like balance out with a lot of like those feelings when feeling drained, but also knowing that at times I didn't dedicate as much time to my creative joy because I was trying to be a student full time, but also be an employee and still like survive in a very uncertain time in the city, where I think the more we unite with our friends, our families, and because the conversations weren't recorded and shared online, they were still having, like, we were still having those conversations in person, and just trying to check in with our friends and family as, a tough year. Like, just, it's already been a full year.
That's why I appreciate the pause, because we were able to just go back in person 100% and just be like, okay, let's just check in there. Yeah. And now we're ready to now balance both, but going even back to that topic of conversation regarding mental health, there's a lot of unlearnings that we've had to confront and conduct ourselves, because, a lot of mental health stuff, it's unlearning some generational trauma. And we're excited to also have that kind of an extension of that conversation, of that topic in this season in particular too, just to continue having that raw authenticity of like, mental health is very real, and like we go through it. It's like, it's something we've had in mind. Melly has these iconic pillows.
I have my feelings wheel. Whenever friends go over to the house, I'm like, okay, how are you feeling?
No,
but they can't just say, oh, I'm okay. They have to choose one, if not multiple, and be like, we could process that right now. Don't worry.
Melly's such a educator though, because she literally said, and how are you feeling? And she gives us the feeling wheel. She made me put one up in my room 2024 when I was really going through my grief and just going through it. And honestly, having that right next to my bed has helped me so much. So I tell him, like, I'm not going to knock it, because identifying how I'm feeling at this exact moment helps so much. So I'm going to go ahead and do it as we wrap up, because right now I am feeling very happy. The feeling wheels has like different little categories. So happy, to further describe my happiness, feeling very optimistic, but also proud.
Okay, I love that. I would say surprise. I am glad that even though we've put this project to the side for a bit, we're finally back, and I think we've been trying to come back. So I'm surprised, but I'm also amazed and in awe of us, the team that's supporting us, all of you who are tuning in, and just excited to see where this project goes, what season 4 brings us, but also who joins us in the process.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool, really exciting. And with that, we're going to leave y'all with, I guess just for season 4, just look forward to really cool guests, but you can stay connected with us on Instagram. We have our Instagram la.serranita_. I haven't said that in a while. And even then, we were just talking about our Instagram followers still being like really engaged with the things we release, like here and there. Like we just post something here and there.
We've gone to art shows and just talked to folks. We've passed the mic, even though, again, we haven't been here.
Very true. Outside of the YouTube camera, we've still been doing stuff. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, check us out, because we randomly have like little segments here and there. I'm doing a really cool segment. It's called Ani's Artist Rotation. I just want to take it back to with La Serranita coming into the podcast space as a community conversation platform. I still at the center of it wanted to preserve the music history that La Serranita has as well. And so outside of the podcast, I want to do just a segment on IG where I'm curating some playlists for folks who have asked me because they think my music taste is really good. And I'm like, sure, I'll put some playlists together. But I've been putting some playlists together, and also just like with the different music communities that I've been engaging with and meeting some really cool independent artists. I want to, give them a platform as best as I can, and like put other people onto their music, and also document the music we heard at the actual La Serranita CD shop, the artists that we grew up with.
Nostalgia.
Exactly. So different playlists will be getting announced on our Instagram. So again, at la.serranita_. Please continue to subscribe on YouTube, and then, comment what you're looking forward to. If you have a topic in mind that you want us to bring to this season, let us know. I do think this season's going to be the most lengthy season yet, which very much needed, because season 3 we were in and out, like we did real quick for personal reasons as well. But we're excited to just bring it back officially. And now visually seeing, us in a room and making this our space and having people join us and have really cool conversations again. So we're excited. We hope you're excited as well.
Yes. If you want to join us as a guest or know of someone that should join us throughout the season, please let us know. Again, comment or DM
and no
us.
person's too big or too small. Tag Yalitza in the comments, please. We're bringing everyone in. So any person that you have, even if they're in Oaxaca, we could make it work.
We can definitely make it work. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're officially wrapping up episode 1 of season 4.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.